Okay, so let's have a look, and as you can see, there's lots of penguins here. Here's Argentina, here's the Chile, and here's the Falkland Islands. So let's have a look. Okay, so the Falklands War was a 10-week war between Argentina and the United Kingdom. So Argentina and the UK, they're going to have a fight. And on Friday, the 2nd of April, 1982, the Argentine armed forces invaded the Falkland Islands in an attempt to claim them as their territory. Okay, so the Argentine forces, they went to the Falkland Islands and they invaded it. And as you can see, the Falkland Islands are very close to Argentina. Okay, and if you just think that the UK is up here somewhere, very far away. As you know, Europe and South America are not close. So here's Argentina, the Falkland Islands, the West Falklands, the East Falklands, and the capital city, Stanley. Okay, so the Falkland Islands was a 10-week war between Argentina and the United Kingdom, and on Friday, the 2nd of April, 1982, the Argentine armed forces invaded the Falkland Islands in an attempt to claim them as their territory. And the Falkland Islands have been part of UK territory since 1841. And the people who live there are descendants of the British. So please understand, the Falkland Islands have been part of the UK territory since 1841, and the people who live there are descendants of the British. Okay, please understand, people on the Falkland Islands see themselves as British and they speak English. They don't see themselves as Argentina, and they obviously don't speak Spanish, which is what people in Argentina speak. Okay, so the Falkland Islands have been part of UK territory since 1841, and the people who live there are descendants of the British settlers. They strongly support remaining part of British territory. They strongly do this. Okay, so if they had a democratic vote, it's probably something like 99% of people would vote to remain part of the British territory. Okay, they strongly remain. The war lasted 74 days and ended with Argentina surrendering on the 14th of June 1982. So the war ended after 74 days, and it ended with Argentina surrendering on the 14th of June 1982. In total, 649 Argentine soldiers and 255 British soldiers died. So it's a terrible little war. And the result of the war was that military rule in Argentina collapsed and was replaced with a democracy. So, okay, wars are never good. I'm not promoting wars. Wars are never good, but this time it had some success because military rule in Argentina was overthrown and it was replaced with a democracy. So in total, 649 Argentine soldiers and 255 British soldiers died. The result of the war was that military rule in Argentina collapsed and was replaced with a democracy. Margaret Thatcher and her Conservative Party. Once again, Margaret Thatcher is the Conservative Party, were strongly re-elected in the next election. Okay, so Margaret Thatcher, as you know, today's lesson we're doing about Margaret Thatcher. And because of her success in the coal mine strike and the Falklands War, her popularity increased Margaret Thatcher led the UK for a very long time. So Margaret Thatcher and her Conservative Party were strongly re-elected in the next election. Okay, students, so here we go. I'm going to introduce now, we've talked about Margaret Thatcher, but now I'm going to introduce about her private life. Okay, so, okay students, today's British and Irish heroine is Margaret Thatcher. Let's learn more about her. So I'm now going to teach you more about Margaret Thatcher. So Margaret Thatcher was born in 1925 and died from a stroke in 2013. She was the Prime Minister of the UK from 1979 to 1990. She was voted democratically in power for 11 years, which is a very, very, very long time in British politics. Margaret Thatcher was born in 1925 and died from a stroke. A stroke is kind of a heart problem, as you know. And she died in 2013, so 75, 88. She lived to be a very long woman. Old woman, not long, sorry. She was the Prime Minister of the UK from 1979 to 1990. She was the longest serving Prime Minister of the 20th century, and she was the first female British Prime Minister ever. Okay? So not only did she change British business and fuel, okay, so the UK now doesn't use coal and the countries are all private, and also the Falkland Islands are still part of the UK territory because of Margaret Thatcher. And she was the longest serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century, and she was the first female British Prime Minister ever. She was nicknamed the Iron Lady by the Russians. She was that strong that she was nicknamed the Iron Lady, and as you know, iron is strong metal, which means, so she's like a strong woman. Even the Russians, and please remember, this is when the Cold War was still happening, okay? When Russia was part of the Soviet Union. They even admired Margaret Thatcher. She's the longest, and she was nicknamed the Iron Lady, and you're going to be watching the Iron Lady later today by the Russian newspapers. And here she is. She's giving somebody a telling off, okay? She had very strong views. Very strong woman was Margaret Thatcher. And here you go, somebody's getting a lecture. So the Russian newspapers even know her as the Iron Lady. Here we go, we've got Margaret Thatcher. And she's giving somebody a lecture, somebody's not in their good books, on becoming Prime Minister. She introduced a series of political and economic changes to reduce high unemployment and the ongoing economic recession. Okay, so in the north there was lots of companies, public companies like coal and things like that, that were costing the government lots of money. So she came into political power and she changed all that and she made them all private, okay? And this helps the UK lower its employment and increase its economic power. So on becoming British Prime Minister, she introduced a series of political and economic changes to reduce high unemployment and the ongoing economic recession. And she reduced, we've already looked at this, she reduced The power of the trade unions invited foreign countries to invest in UK and stopped protecting British companies. She made the economy a free economy, which it is nowadays. If you go to the UK, you will see many foreign countries. For example, my friend in Hull, where I'm from, he works for Hyundai, okay, your car company. So she reduced the power of the trade unions, invited foreign countries to invest in the UK and stopped protecting British companies from foreign competition. She gave British workers less employment rights and privatised, which means sold to private companies, industries such as water, gas, electricity. She sold them all to private companies and stopped public government owning. So she stopped protecting them from foreign competition, and she gave British workers less employment rights and privatised, which means sold to foreign companies. Sugar. Oops. Yep, she sold these. Give you a minute, guys. I'm just looking for the other battery. It's just fallen out of my hand. Sorry about that. We're working. From foreign companies, she gave British workers less employment rights and privatised, which means sold to private